Hey guys, it's Steven from Steven's Classic Garage, and welcome to part one of a series of a multi-part series for strain bars or strain relief bars for Mk1 Volkswagen Rabbits. So there are going to be two video series, one for two different components that I've purchased from a website called Kraut. In this particular video, we're going to be talking about the radiator support brace or chassis crossmember brace from Kraut. In another series, we're also going to be talking about the 4-point harness, and this is going to be my standard series where I go from beginning to end. So I'm going to showcase the product itself. I'm going to show you guys the quality of the product, installation, and then final review. So this is probably going to be a 4-part series for each product here. And each video will be about probably 11 minutes long. So altogether about 40 minutes or so. So basically, Kraut is a website where they have two different products, and we're going to be talking about one of them, but another one is the in a different series, which I also purchased. I also purchased this 4-point brace. So check out the video for that. We're going to show the installation. This is also very crucial, so I suggest you go to my channel and check that out as well. So basically here it looks like here this is the the product that we're going to be talking about in this series from Kraut, and this seems to be a Kraut exclusive, home of the original A1 chassis crossmember reinforcement bar. So that's basically this guy right here. So this bar goes across the radiator support on the front of Mk1 Volkswagen vehicles. Now it can be installed on a Volkswagen Jetta Bora 1979-1984, Volkswagen Rabbit Golf Cabri GTI 1975 to 1984. That's the end of the Mk1 basically. Volkswagen Rabbit Truck / Caddy 1980-1996, Scirocco 74-92, and then 82 up. Oh, so this is the one-hole mount for Mark II Siroccos. So this is Mark II Sirocco, starts in 1982 Mark II. And that one, you have to use, you can only mount, I guess, in one of the holes, I guess. I think it's talking about these holes here. I'm assuming, or one of these holes here or something. So, Cabrio, Cabriolet, 1980-1993. So it could be installed in all of those. It does say here matte black powder coating. The powder coat is exquisite. I got this component today, and I will show you guys a close-up video now in part 2, but keep in mind that in that video I actually shot that before this video. I shot that, actually no, this one I haven't shot yet. I already shot the video for this one, so I'll mention that in this video, but I will be making these mentions when I shoot this video tomorrow morning. So because I did make some mistakes in this video, if that was the case. So pretty much this guy here is what you have, and it's a matte black finish, and it's an installation time about 1 hour. So what is the point of having this bracket? Now if we look here, it'll actually show where this bracket is installed. So here is your engine and transmission in a Mk1 Rabbit, Scirocco, whatever. This one, I don't know, some sort of Scirocco. Mine does not look like this. My Rabbit does not look like this, but then again, mine's diesel, and also I don't think I have this front piece here. I might. It might be underneath the fan shroud and you can't see it, but I'm pretty sure I don't have that. So basically what it does is it goes down through here and it bolts up to the side of your frame here. So these are the frame rails that are coming across the car here, and it bolts into the side of the frame rail, and then it has a tongue up here, and the tongue bolts up to the top of the radiator support. So basically what this does is it helps brace the radiator support. Now, why does the radiator support need to be braced? As you see here, it uses very, very thin sheet metal. Now, from viewing this right here, I'm going to say it's probably, I don't think it's going to be 16 gauge, which is like a 1/16 of an inch. I mean, to me, it does look like maybe 1/8 of an inch, or either 1/8 of an inch or less. But then again, I don't know if they deburred it. There might be a burr here, and it actually looks bigger than it is. But I'm pretty sure it is a 1/16 of an inch sheet metal here. So this is basically the frame rail on the front of the car, right before the radiator support. It looks like here. It looks like that's the radiator support. So basically, they took it off of a car, they cut it here, they cut it off the car, and then they've cut across here and looked inside. And it looks like here there's a 2-bolt pattern, 2 bolt holes here for some sort of mounting. And this might actually be where they mount the bracket itself, because the bracket actually the reinforcement actually has 2 bolts that are orientated in this kind of manner. So that might be actually where it bolts in. Okay, so now you see that the frame rate, the reason why you would want to use one is because the frame is very thin, and obviously it's very, very hollow. So this frame is very susceptible to any sort of damage because it doesn't have very high strength, right? It's very lightweight, very easy to manufacture, very cheap to manufacture. Obviously, for what would be 40 years ago, but now compared to frames now, it's very weak. So that's another reason. Now, what could happen if you potentially don't have one of these? Well, what happens is you could have frame cracking. So here, this is from one of Kraut's cars, I'm assuming, or something online. But you can see here where there was a weak spot that has a crack that goes up through what looks like to be that vent hole that was here. Looks to be this vent hole here, or this thing's going in here, which looks like some sort of intake of some sort. Looks like that whatever goes here, whatever goes here cracked. And it cracked all the way up. So now half of this frame is gone, and we see it does not appear here. So basically this layer cracked, and then you could also see it's starting to form a crack here. So either you got hit, but this is probably on the inside of the car. So it probably is not because it got hit, it's just from the stress over time. So there's a thing in mechanics called fatigue, which is basically when something is flexed back and forth over and over and over again, eventually imperfections in the metal form, and then those imperfections propagate throughout the metal. Eventually the bonds are broken and the metal separates. The metal breaks, pretty much. And then a crack forms. So basically that fatigue happens. Some imperfection or some weak spot in the steel, some sort of maybe some sort of impurity or something in the steel, or rust or anything like that. At that point, a crack forms, right? Then that crack, as it flexes, the steel gets weaker, and that crack propagates until eventually it goes all the way around and it's cracked all the way through. And then now you have to go through and re-weld this, but then you have an issue that if it cracks all the way, is the frame straight, stuff like that, and you never want to re-weld a car. I mean, that's the worst thing, when if you don't do it perfectly and somebody goes down there and looks and it's got a big crack in it. And then also, that's another thing, that's a start. Sure, you could go re-weld it, but how do you prevent that from happening? So this is something that you would use to prevent that from happening, right? Because you could always re-weld it, but then it might happen somewhere else in another weak spot. And the reason why it happened here is because there's a big hole in the material, right? The material has a big hole here, so it doesn't have as much strength on this side. So there's only this small section here and then a small section at the top. So it finds a weak spot, and it breaks generally at that section. And so here's another image where it cracked. It looks like not even in a weak spot. It cracked in a regular spot here and cracked all the way around. So now it's difficult to go back through and weld this, especially if the car is separated. Then you need some sort of, and it's opened up, it's really hard to bridge across that with a weld. So now you need some sort of hydraulic jack to push the thing back together and then weld it shut. So it's just a big mess. And really, for the cost of this brace, you're better off just buying the brace and missing this thing entirely. So, and then here's some other images of it installed. Yeah, so basically there is two options for purchasing this bracket for these vehicles. There is a on sale price, which is the price that you should have it at right now, is $150. Now the one I bought the scratch and dent price. Now if you watch my second video, you'll see exactly along the lines of what that would mean on what mine looks like. What that particular scratch and dent price is. So go ahead and check out that video to learn more about it, what that scratch and dent looks like. But really, it's not worth, I think, the $30 or $20 in this case, the $20 to have a quote-unquote perfect one of these guys. Just get the scratch and dent, save $20. It'll pay for, if you buy both these components, it's about $50. So I think I paid $320 total. So that's with the $130 here and the $150 here. So that's $280 plus $50 shipping. So both of these components I got for to my door about $320. So this pays for about half the shipping if you do the scratch and dent. And the scratch and dent aren't even that bad. So with that, we're going to go forward. This video is going to be a little bit longer than the 4-bar because we're going to talk a little bit about the installation. So because this is kind of the bread and butter of the Kraut, they do have an installation, and they do have also some history of it as well. So basically, they started back in 2005. We're not equipped to handle 150 foot-pounds. So generally, this guy happens when you're running higher horsepower. So I do plan on turboing my car. So it is going to have the increased horsepower. This is going to have about double the horsepower that it normally does stock. And also it is extremely low. So with extremely low and extremely stiff suspension, there's a lot of hard hitting of different bumps and stuff like that. So it's definitely something that should be supporting the frame itself. Again, in the front of the car, there's not really any sort of suspension there on that section, right? The suspension's further down towards the rear of the car, but it is something that holds the frame open and also braces the engine and stuff like that. So if you're putting in some sort of 20 valve swap or some sort of like 16 valve swap or something like that, and you're upwards of the 200 horsepower range, then you're definitely going to want to look at some sort of brace like this. So it says the thin double-ply sheet metal was splitting and fracturing left and right. VW engineers had not planned for this much power for 122 foot-pounds. Hey. Oh. For the individual track, their skills and tools. So basically it says for people that did not have the tools to repair, it was a really big issue. and they had the tools to kind of make a solution. They wanted making bolt-on solutions for their VWs, but not offering them in commercial abundance. The few that were available to talk the individuals into making extras were set. However, that still left the rest of us. The preliminary design were drawn up in 2006, offered to the community. The component pieces were based on many cardboard cutouts, which is generally what you do most of the time, because things are on this car are located in 3D space. And back in 2000 or 2006, there was not really any sort of 3D scanning technology that we kind of have now. So you have to use cardboard or foam board or wood or MDF or whatever to kind of locate things in 3D space in order to design this kind of stuff. So that is pretty typical of having multiple cardboard cutouts. Many hours measuring and remeasuring and finding many hours in front of CAD design software compatibility among all the A1 chassis vehicles was the foremost concern. Months of research and development, third-party laser cut for the initial prototype. While the first bars were by any measure a success, there were still nagging issues with the fitment that needed addressing. So, while the end plates addressed quite a few issues, with adjustable end plates was released. While the end plates addressed quite a few issues, additional components affording the bar adjustability cost the community in two respects: weight and affordability. The goal had been always to serve the community, not profit from. While these designs were indeed an improvement, they were not the final answer. The third and final design was created, fixed in place, slightly looser tolerances, and provisions to accept all A1 chassis. The final version of the Crossmember required no additional hardware and bolted directly to the A1 chassis. Community reviews were great. Kraut continues to offer the same bar at the same price it did nearly 6 years ago. And, I guess that doesn't work. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. Okay, so you can't look closer, but there you could see the bar here with these two pieces, this piece, and this piece. You'll see this in my second part of the video. Now, they do have the installation here, so basically this looks like a Sirocco, Mark 1 Sirocco or something. So here, basically, he's taking the bumper off, fender walls, bodies. I don't think you need that for Mark 1. And here you can see the first two mounting plates on the inside of the frame. And you can see that on this last one that they have like these little scoops that kind of slide in there. Right, so that's where one of them goes with the hood open on both the 4 17mm bolts, 2 on each side of the vehicle. They're each fastened to approximately 50 to 60 foot-pounds, so be careful when breaking them loose. So obviously shoot it with the catalyzer, the break loose fluid. Start with the rearmost bolts for easier bumper removal. Carefully slide the bumper out. US models have heavier bumpers due to dot regulations. I have Euro bumpers. Oh, so these are what hold the bumpers in. I see. So the bumpers slide in here and they bolt in here. So basically when you unbolt, you're going to reuse those bolts to attach the new one. So be mindful of this when removing the bumper. Please take special note, the spacer brackets included with your kit are there because the Mark 1 Sirocco has protruding wheels. So I believe any the Sirocco has the protruding rails, the other ones do not. Oh, the spacer brackets. Oh, so those secondary spacer brackets, these ones here are for the Sirocco. Without a flush mounting surface. As you tighten the bumper bolts down, it effectively crushes the rails. GTI and most other models do not have these protruding rails. So basically what it's talking about is these two pieces here. See how there's a protrusion here? So you slide the bracket in there and then you can bolt it in there. So the front clip is held in by two blah blah blah, each torqued, two 17mm bolts, each torqued between 35 and 45. You need to remove these bolts completely, leaving the cup hanging on the rubber mount for the duration of the installation. The cup does not need to be removed. Now this is for, that's a motor mount though, I'm pretty sure. Working from the underside of the car, slide the brace in between the car's cross member and the front mounting cup, sandwich them. Thread the bolt you removed, but do not fully commit the brace position by torquing them down just yet. Notice the cross member brace has slotted holes where the front mounting cup bolts down. This is for side-to-side positioning of the brace. I see. So, okay, so this I think is a motor mount or something here, but you can see that the plate is going underneath this guy and then the two bolts are going through there. Carefully slide the front bumper back into the car. This part can be trickier for some. You must orchestrate the bumper, spacer, plate, and cross-member brace into perfect alignment to be able to thread the bumper bolts. Once one side is done, it is generally a great deal easier to do the other side as before. Do not fully commit the brace position by torquing the bolts down just yet. Once you are able to thread the other side in, find the brace center by looking at the space between the bumper rail and the end plates of the brace. When you have found center, fully torque the front motor mounts into position. Recheck the position one final time, then begin torquing down one side of the bumper bolts approximately 1/2 turn each on one side, and then repeat 1/2 turn per bolt on the other side. Go back and forth until all 4 bolts are fully seated. Do not forget to torque these to specification. Finally, reinstall your plastic bumper clips. If so equipped, you're done. So, yeah, so basically that is it. Talking about the Kraut bracket itself. So that is the installation. Obviously I'll have another video talking about the installation itself and my thoughts on the installation, and then I'll have a review so that way you guys know exactly how to install it, and I'll mention some pitfalls and stuff like that and things that you're going to look out for, and hopefully that way it'll be a little bit more in depth than this. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in part 2 where we look at this component.